Well, okay, now I'm here
Yeah,
with Marco Minnemann from the Aristocrats and some other projects, right?
yeah, you can say
Yeah.
that.
Marco, thanks for having me.
No,
Thanks for
thank
your
you for being.
time.
Yeah.
And well, you are coming to Brazil with the Aristocrats. So my first question for you is, how are you guys preparing for this tour? And well, what can the fans expect about the set list, the stage?
Yeah. Well, we are already kind of, on our duck tour for the last album, basically, and so we played many shows with that. So I guess we're meeting, then rehearsing a little bit, obviously, and then doing the first show. I forgot where the first show is. I think it was somewhere either way in Chile or it's in Costa Rica, and then we kind of move onwards. And I think we have a good set list together that works. So you find out how the audience reacts, globally about like what songs work strongly, and so that's what we're doing. And I think we come with our little entertainment thing. We bring some rubber animals as always, our mascots, and I think you can expect us all to have hopefully a lot of fun together and some good playing, hopefully too. We try our best.
Yes, well, I was checking the story behind the record. It
Yeah.
tells it's like something like a concept album. Let's say it tells the story of the DD Duck, right?
Yeah. It happened just out of stupidity a little bit, because we were not having a title for the album, as most of the time that happens. It usually comes after the recording. But for some reason, well, I started writing a song which was called "Sitting with a Duck on a Bay" because it was sort of a fun reference for Otis Redding, for that one song. And so basically that really happened because Guthrie and I, we were walking actually on a pier once and were looking for some drinks and having fun. And so I saw a duck sitting at the bay at a pier, and I just made that lame Otis Redding reference. And so that's how that song came about. I had like a little funky groove in that song, and so I kind of named that song that. And so then after we started making duck jokes. And then Brian and I, one morning while searching for an album title, while recording the album, basically, during the sessions, we both came up with the idea, why don't we call the album Duck? Literally simultaneously woke up. And then, Brian was the one then getting conceptual about it, basically, and going like, oh, maybe we could write like stories about ducks, and every song, we tailor to a duck. Well, yeah, and here we are.
Yeah, and more about the writing process. It was all you guys together or in the internet? What can you say about it?
Yeah, no. We always write the songs separately, actually. So we finish the songs at our respective homes, so to speak. And from that moment on, we kind of, basically send the songs to each other once we think something is finished. And then everybody rehearses that at home. And then we go for about a week into the studio, rehearse them, fine tune them, see like, where could be some dynamics that we could kind of, change or kind of, yeah, like I said, a little fine tuning, and then you have a song, hopefully, and then the song basically tells its own story and speaks, whether it's kind of a strong song and where on the album it finds its place, Yeah.
Yes, and which song from the record that you think that you guys had the most? Well, it was really a challenge to put together to get to the final stage.
Yeah, there were two songs. Uh, One was one of Guthrie's, which is called Slideshow, and the other one was one of mine, which is called And Then There Were Just Us. And these songs had multiple arrangements and layers that were like very, very difficult to really translate uh, in a trio setting in the studio. And we would have kind of had to spend more time that we were running out of then by that time, because we want to make things good. But these were songs where we decided, let's finish them in our homes, So So those were like, the ones that were difficult putting together and also difficult to play live. But on the studio album, I hope they sound all right.
Yeah, well, since you mentioned Guthrie,
Yeah.
well, he's widely, let's say, respected among the fusion and jazz rock fans. So, which track on Duck Records do you think that represents the best of his work? And what's your favorite thing about his playing style?
Well, first of all, everyone in the band, tries to obviously play to their best abilities. So it's kind of difficult to have like, a certain pick. And I think, for the guitar world, obviously, yes, Guthrie is, first of all, there's the versatility, so he has like a very vast repertoire of styles, which he can speak fluidly, so that's, I think, his particular strength, just basically having that sensibility in his tone, but also the command about pretty much every genre, and that I think, is the strength. And also, well, then put it together, with the trio, since we have been playing for such a long time, we know meanwhile very well how to listen to each other and where to kind of, really fine tune and where dynamics come in and stuff like that. So I guess that's overall a strong package that sort of can deliver some, hopefully, magic here and there.
Yeah, and you guys work as a trio, like let's say a power trio. And what, what do you think about this format? Because well, we have obviously less instruments, and which other power trios that well you like the most that maybe was somehow inspired you to put together a band like this, like with three people?
We never really planned on becoming a power trio or something like that. It was really just how it happened. All of a sudden, it was the three of us, and we liked the dynamics of us, and we didn't miss anything. So there was no plan of being like, a trio or something, and we play sometimes in different settings with more musicians or whatnot, so. But I can definitely say, and my father always says it as well, my parents are huge music lovers. My father says most of his favorite bands are trios, like ZZ Top or Motorhead or Rush or The Police. And all of these bands are pretty much like as well, so there is something about a trio that is, it doesn't get too packed, so you can concentrate on the ingredients of only three instruments. I think there's a beauty about that, and then there's like, a thing obviously about not overplaying, but also playing enough notes that it doesn't sound empty. So you have to really have a good conversation with the instrument then and bring that to the band,
Yes, well, changing a little bit the subject, talking about some previous work of you. Well, you worked with Joe Satriani during the Shockwave Supernova era. So
Correct.
I went to, yeah, and actually I went to a concert by Satriani and you here in Curitiba, Brazil.
Oh,
And,
cool. Yes.
yeah, it was amazing. So I want to ask you, well, which memories do you have from this experience, and how it was to work with him, and if you have any particular song from his repertoire that you like the most?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, it was fantastic working with Joe. He's a dear friend and a great guy. So every time we would tour or do something, there was always a good vibe. He's a very, very mellow and very pleasant person to be around. So on tour, there were like a lot of great moments. And also we traveled through many beautiful countries, including obviously Brazil. I've been to Brazil many times with different bands or even solo. And I love it there, so obviously with Joe and especially in your country, always good memories. And I really liked sometimes when we opened the shows with the song, what was it, Flying in a Blue Dream? Because when you have like a good sound system and the band sounds locked and you have like enough watts and power to play like, you know, that really AC/DC-ish kind of groove, it feels great. So those were like some of my favorite songs to play, something like that. And I suggested once, and we played it then, to play the song Not of This Earth," which is, I think, a great opening track from the first album, if I remember correctly. And
Yes.
that I loved. So we played that for a few times. So that was really, really fun. And like more like the songs that are groove based, you know, with Joe sound particularly good when you have a fat sound on stage and in the audience.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that you've been to Brazil many times.
Oh yeah.
So I want to ask you about because the drumming world
Mhm.
turned its eyes to Brazil when Eloy Casagrande joined Slipknot. What were
Yeah.
your thoughts of his playing? What do you think about this news? Him joining Slipknot?
Yeah. I think that's great, you know. And the first time I heard of Eloy was through my drum tech, one of my drum techs, Emilio, who works with a lot of metal bands as well. I play a lot of metal. And he, a while back, introduced me to Eloy because by that time I didn't know him. He goes like, "Oh, check out this guy I work with here, like, you know, from Brazil." And I was like, you know, and he's a very nice guy. He's a big fan and he follows you and stuff. I was like, "Oh, cool. Oh, that's very nice." And I checked him out with Slipknot. I was like, "Fuck, man, he's really good." You know, I really like his playing. Like, you know, obviously so much energy, but he's also very tight. I love that, and still sounds organic. You know, in a way too. You know, so I think that's actually really, really, really cool. So he's one of the newer drummers, so to speak. You know, who I definitely really appreciate. So I'm very, very happy for him. And so go Brazil and go Eloy.
Yeah, talking. My next question is somehow about Brazil too,
Yeah.
because I have to ask about the famous Dream Theater drum audition,
Oh God.
which
Yeah.
included Brazilian drummer Achilles Priester. So
Yes.
did you and Achilles ever talk about that time? What do you remember from those days?
Yeah. I don't know if I talked with him after that. I recently talked with him because he wants to bring me over to Brazil for a drum tour
Yeah.
for yeah, in September. But I don't think it's gonna work out because that's just when I get coming back with from our tour with the Aristocrats.
Mm.
So it would have to be arranged a little differently, I think, you know. But I might do that again, you know. So yeah, you know, the audition was great. It was fantastic, and I didn't even know how to. I wasn't even planning on going there. It started as a joke between Jordan and I. I said for fun. Hey, maybe I should play with you guys. I was never planning that, and all of a sudden they all called me, you know, and I was like, oh nah, and I was just, let's jam, let's have a good time. And they said like, hey, we fly you out. Okay. Oh man. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. So I don't know so much of Dream Theater music. I never listened to Dream Theater. Not that, you know, I appreciate them a lot. We're all friends. So they gave me 3 songs. I rehearsed them and I just thought of it more as a fun hang. What I did not know by that time was that they filmed it. If they would have told me that they would have filmed it, I probably wouldn't have gone. And but there I was already, you know. So I kind of landed, and all of a sudden there were those cameras. I was like, oh no. Well, now I'm already here, and we started playing. And they said to me after it was done, they came out and they said, hey, we think this is the best audition we did. I had no idea who was there before me or something, but they said, we thought this is the best audition, the manager said, and the band. So, and I thought like, wow, that's an honor. Thank you so much. Because they thought, man, you look like you have so much fun and we locked so well. And then they asked me how many albums I have and what my favorite songs are. And I had to admit, I said like, guys, I don't really know your music. I said like, I know those 3 songs you just gave me, and that was fun. But for them, it was like they really obviously wanted someone who's a fan of the band and wanted to tour with them all year, you know? And on top of it, right after when I had my tour with Steven Wilson, or one of the tours, and the Aristocrats, the guitar player called me. I forgot his name. John Petrucci, right? Yeah, he called me and asked like, hey, do you want to play an album with me in tour? Together. So we do an album tour, and I had to decline that because I was just about on tour my other bands. And so we always kind of, keep missing each other. But Jordan and I then, we released a few collaborative albums together. And still, we are all in touch. They're lovely people, I think. And those are the memories I have from those days. I don't know how it really was for Achilles. I didn't really follow up on that, but from what I hear, there were like some things in Brazil. Or what happened there? Something.
Yeah, actually, he made some, let's say, some mistakes on the songs, and but well, the songs were, let's say, difficult.
Yeah, hey, everybody, makes mistakes in those things, including the people who write the songs sometimes, right? So it's, I think it's a little unfair sometimes when people are getting thrown into the spotlight and then, are getting filmed on the spot for the very first time to rehearse something, and then it's out in the open and cannot be erased. It's a little weird, sometimes, but yeah, I think, for whatever it was, it was, I think, for a fun time. I had a lot of fun with that audition, and it came out great. I think I didn't really watch the other auditions, so I cannot judge what happened with other people, or if Achilles is happy or not happy. He sure seems to be all right, so must be okay.
Yeah, no problem. Marco, can
Yes.
you name 5 records that had the major impact on you and explain why?
Absolutely. It would be Queen, News of the World. That's my first album. Where I realized I wanted to be a musician, because just the diversity, like We Will Rock You. I never heard anything like that. First of all, that cool groove, and I was like 5 or 6 years old. You immediately start clapping with it. And then when the guitar solo came in with such a powerful and cool tone, amazing. And then the next song was We Are the Champions. Then Sheer Heart Attack. Then All Dead. Then Spread Your Wings. Fight from the Inside. That's only side one. Such a cool variety, and what a great sounding band. And everybody sings well and plays well. And I loved it. And then Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. That album, when I first heard that, I thought, like, that is serious stuff, because that was when I was introduced to really good drumming, really, Queen is also great, but so that doesn't minimize that, but I remember, like, by that time I already kind of picked up drums, and then I heard, like, The Song Remains the Same starting, and I listened to what John Bonham was doing. I was like, oh, this guy's a serious drummer. So I had a deep dive, so there would be number 2 of that. Other albums I really like, well, Frank Zappa really turned my life around, obviously, when I heard albums like You Are What You Is, but also, Shake Your Booty and Ship Arriving Too Late to Save a Drowning Witch. Great albums. Van Halen, I think Fair Warning, one of my favorite albums. That guitar intro itself, unbelievable. It's like a UFO had landed. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then Mean Street, and then the groove kicks in. I was like, wow, those guys are cool. So, and then I think, I have like one more left. I would probably there are many more now I'm forgetting, and I'm ashamed about that then, because there are many more I like, I could name Kate Bush, The Dreaming, or Hounds of Love. I could name The Police, Synchronicity, one of my favorite albums. Rush also, fantastic band. There are many. It would be too short, because now I would be thinking, oh my God, I forgot this.
Maybe 10 records.
Or 20.
Yeah. Marco, well, thanks for the interview, and please
Thank
leave a final message to your Brazilian fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be absolutely looking forward to coming to your beautiful country again. I love the restaurants. I love the girls. I didn't say that. Hang on. And and first of all, the fans, because one of the greatest audiences, we always have like a fantastic time. Very much looking forward, and I see you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.